No.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension here in Hernando County, and we got everybody on here this morning. Let's see. Right next to me is our Hernando County Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator, Colby Pitts, and right below him is our previous Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator, who is now currently the Master Gardener Coordinator in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania, Lily Browning. Good morning,
I am.
Lily.
Thank you, Bill. And I'm sorry for yelling at my coworkers here. I'm working from home today, and they're about as loud as Colby's, but they bark a little bit louder than Colby's coworkers there.
I remember what that was like during COVID when we had all three of ours. And of course, it's when I click go live that
Yes.
it would just explode. Somebody would knock on the door and they go nuts.
Well, the garbage man just went by, so
well, that's all it takes.
Yes.
And we also have one of our Master Gardener volunteers, Bernie. Good morning, Bernie. How are you?
I'm really good. And now that we have a Northern Master Gardener Coordinator on the program, we are equipped to answer questions for the entire country. We can do the North, we can do the South. So if you have any questions, just be sure and toss them in. We will attempt anything. Remember, answers are cheap. Good answers are a little more expensive.
So if you have your heart set on growing a crab apple here in Hernando County, I can't help you with that a whole lot. But Lily's here, so she can tell you how to grow one in Pennsylvania.
Did you
Growing one here in Florida is not going to work well.
It sounded like you said that with a P and not with a B.
No, crab apple.
Okay. You said crab. All right. It didn't sound like that.
No, we have one in Maryland I'm familiar with. I grew up with a great big, huge crab apple tree out front. It was a big shade tree. And it would flower, be covered with flowers, and then millions of crab apples, which would fall to the ground and attract lots of wasps and bees, as I remember.
And be slimy, and you slip on them.
That's a tree that, because people don't normally eat the fruit, it never got pruned correctly. The things were always a disaster. They were hundreds of millions of little branches all intertwined. It was kind of a nightmare tree. But did anybody ever wonder what would happen if you took one, babied it, kept it all trimmed up the way it should be? Maybe crab apples, when you reduce the number and do all the things like it's a peach tree, become something really valuable. So where is the university doing all the research on that?
They have plenty of ornamental crab apples now. So you get all the pretty flowers and none of the worry about the fruit.
Well, you can can the fruit and preserve it.
Sure.
It is edible.
Yeah. And kids throw it at each other,
Oh, yeah. And it's perfect size for slingshot.
Yeah, and I'm sure Colby, though, he grew up where you would throw wild tangerines at each other.
We had a kumquat tree, and the kumquats were super, super bitter, super sour. You never wanted to eat them. But I grew up with brothers, and we definitely were throwing fastballs at each other of rotten kumquats. That was a very formative time of my childhood.
Well, being a teenager in Massarectown, Florida, let me tell you, if you don't crack that egg before you throw it at somebody, it really hurts. The mean people would not crack it first.
Oh my God. You threw eggs at each other? I was going to make
threw eggs at each other.
But...
Yes. It was, our hair looked great. Go home, wash it out, have very shiny, beautiful hair.
So I guess this goes to show, no matter where you grow up, kids can always find something to throw at each other.
If we keep talking about ammo, we're going to get endorsed by ATF,
Well, for anybody who's joining us live, if you have any lawn and garden questions, please feel free to ask. I mean, we're happy to circle around and focus on your question or your problem. Just go ahead and put that in the chat, and I will see it, and I'll show it on the screen, and we'll figure out an answer to your question. So hopefully we'll get some lawn and garden questions this morning.
So Bernie, why don't you tell us about the new turf that you discovered today, soon to be called T1 Bath Hour experimental grass?
Very, very interesting piece of grass. It was growing with the habitat of St. Augustine. It was a nice runner grass, beautiful. I would have thought it was probably in the St. Augustine family, except it has a seed head. So didn't really look like Bermuda. And the sample that was brought in is suffering from really severe take-all root rot. So at least in our county, I'm not sure that it would be a good alternative for lawn, but I really need to get it identified. It's something I haven't seen before. And in fact, I had somebody come in with a sample of zoysia last week, and that is really rare in our county. And the zoysia was really in bad shape. It was terrible, and the customer wanted to know why. I told him I put it under a microscope, and it was strictly a fungal problem. And it didn't make any difference. All he wanted was the reason why it had died. I've got a fly driving me nuts.
Yeah, we have a fly outbreak here in the neighborhood today.
But he is replacing the lawn with a thing called Tiff Tuff, which is one of the University of Georgia grasses, one of the Bermudas. The University of Georgia up in Tifton, Georgia, does a tremendous amount of research on Bermuda grasses, and they're probably the leader in Bermuda type, especially feed grasses, farm pasture and that type of product. So Tuff appears to be a pretty good lawn. Since we have none, I have no experience, so I can't talk about it, but it might be great. We have a new St. Augustine lawn, Citra Blue, which from initial experiences with it, is going to be a really great lawn. It's hard to tell. It's so many of these products are really great the first couple of years, and then they start deteriorating. The problem that nobody anticipated, that didn't show up in the research facility, sticks its ugly head up out in the field, and you have a problem. I remember when Empire Zoysia came out, there was nothing bad that they could say about it. It was one of the greatest products ever. And until the lawn care people really learned how to keep it going, it was a nightmare. We got involved in some very early trials in the county with 100% loss of lawn. So you can't fool these little flies. They know what they're after.
You're so sweet.
The grass, I'll get on with the university this afternoon and get an identification and get back with the customer. So if you have something and we don't know right off the bat, we have all the facilities of the university behind us. And although we're not necessarily the smartest people in the world here, we know the smartest people on each of these different little things. So there's tremendous backup, and that's my sole purpose. As a master gardener, I am the initial contact between the user of the information and the university. So I'm the starting spot, not necessarily the end all be all, but the place that you begin, and that's a good thing to be. I really enjoy this. So if you have something, I'd be more than willing to either help or get started on what needs to be done to get the help.
Something interesting I learned this week. I learned something every day on our Penn State Facebook page. Somebody was asking how to get rid of the zoysia grass that is creeping in from their neighbors because it's a weed and they want rid of it here. So It's just
it all depends on if you want it or not.
right.
Here in Florida, in a lot of subdivisions, you'll have somebody with a St. Augustine lawn right next door to somebody with a Bahia lawn. The St. Augustine will over time creep into the Bahia.
Sure.
I know a lot of people in other states up north consider St. Augustine generally as a lawn weed. So they're trying to get rid of it. Here, you're paying to have your yard sodded with it. You're trying to keep it alive. So,
well, the big thing here is people living on golf courses. The Bermuda requires a lot of maintenance, and unless you really are just absolutely nuts about having a fantastic lawn, you're not going to have Bermuda. You're going to have one of the more common lawn grasses. So, and the Bermuda is a runner type grass. So living next to the golf course, you're always going to have the Bermuda from the golf course interfere with your lawn. And what people don't understand is that it's easy to kill weeds in the lawn as long as the weeds are sedges or broadleaves. But there's three types of weeds. There's grasses, there's sedges, and there's broadleaves. The sedges are easy because the use of something that kills the family of sedge, and that's no problem. And the broadleaves are not really a problem because you get one of the broadleaf killers that kills that particular weed in the broadleaf family, and it's fine. But the grasses, with a couple of exceptions, you cannot kill one kind of grass without killing all the grasses. So if you have St. Augustine in your Bahia and you want to get rid of it, that works. We can do that. If you have Bahia in your St. Augustine, we can do that. But if you have anything else that's grass and any other grass, you're going to have to live with it. You either take it out, pull it out of a spot at a time, or you resod or something major like that, because there is no solution to the grass in the grass. That is all these grasses appear to each other as grasses, and the weed killer looks at it and kills them all just the same. So,
and something very important to keep in mind, I spoke with somebody just yesterday who has spurge and Florida pusley in his lawn, wanting to know how to get rid of it. Said, using liquid herbicide and a pump sprayer to spot spray it. But this time of year, because it's very, very sunny and hot, you need to be very careful using any kind of weed killer in your lawn. Read that label very closely, because it may say, don't use this product if the temperature is above 85 or 90. Because what may happen is you spray it on your yard to kill the weeds, and it says it's safe for the grass, but if it's very, very hot, it may kill everything, lawn and weeds, and you obviously don't want that.
And that temperature doesn't mean right now. Doesn't mean it should be below 85 when you're spraying it, so you spray it at 7 in the morning. It means in general, is the temperature getting above 85, 90, whatever, then because that product is on the plant. So
and another thing that people are not really aware of is that although the product may be fine for killing the weeds, some of these products, the most effective weed killer we have for St. Augustine grass, for instance, is a fantastic product unless you have oak trees. And it just so happens it really goes after the oak trees along with all the other weeds. So if you're using 2,4-D, 2,4-D in your Bahia lawn can take out everything you have in landscaping. So we don't often see it in lawns because we're not putting down that much normally, but 2,4-D tends to volatilize and move. And it's an oxidant. It causes the plant to grow so quick that it kills the plant. And I remember one time had a client bring in a piece of the shrubbery, and it was 5 times longer than it should have been. It was really an amazing thing. And it was because the 2,4-D had volatilized and attacked the shrub, but hadn't given it enough to kill it. So here we have this growth hormone, growth regulator, really making this plant grow like crazy, but didn't kill it. And it's just amazing. You know, a piece of a branch that should have been 2 inches long was almost 2 feet long. You saw. You can get in a lot of trouble. Read the label, follow the safety precautions. Do not use more than what the label rate is. The label rate is optimum. If more worked, they would tell you to use more. They want to sell all the product they can, but there's a reason why. You know, if it's 2 ounces per gallon, they know for an absolute fact that 3 ounces per gallon is not really a better thing. And the federal law says you must follow the label. So don't get in trouble. Stay safe. Follow the recommendations. Use the proper safety clothing, and don't kill everything. You don't need to wipe it all out just because you got that power.
And also be very careful applying any of those herbicides anywhere near tree roots. Maybe 9 times out of 10, it won't bother the tree at all, but we've seen instances with different products that are normally safe to be used around trees. If you put it down the wrong day, the wrong time of day, the tree is doing something unusual, it can cause damage. So just be careful of that.
Or you can do like all of us on this panel who do nothing. Bill has, Bill has a mandate from the boss of his home. No bare spots.
The woman says that she doesn't want to see any bare dirt. She wants to see everything covered. She doesn't care if it's grass or not because she can't tell the difference.
Right.
And keep it cut. So I keep it cut. I bag up the grass clippings and I compost them to go in the vegetable garden, or I use this directly as mulch in the vegetable garden. And I cut my grass and the weeds high. Normally during the summer, I have like well over 50%, probably 75% Bahia, but I have a lot of weeds also. I don't care.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. I don't care.
Green.
So that's my goal, and
green mowable looks good as you're driving by 35 miles an hour.
Do you grow garlic, Bill?
No, I have never tried. And Bassem has a question here about what is the best garlic variety that you can grow successfully in Central Florida.
You know, I read that question before I saw the name, but I knew who asked it.
In Florida, well, in the world of garlic, there's 2 main kinds of garlic, hardneck and softneck. And you want to grow softneck garlic in Florida. You want to plant it in the fall, let it grow all winter, and, harvest it in the spring, just like you do onions. Onions they grow pretty much all winter long. You could also grow elephant garlic. That does very well in Florida, and it's a very, very mild garlic also, and obviously gets not that big, but a big clove. So no, I've never tried garlic before. Now I gotta fly in here too. But I'm going to try this winter. I'm going to put some garlic in and give it a shot.
I noticed the fly in Bernie's room was trying to get real attention. It was going by the camera and really showing itself. But Sam, we had a conversation after last week's program, after we got off air, and I think Dr. Lester wants to schedule a field trip to your house. It must be amazing there.
Sure, we should get a camera person. We should go and do something live at my house.
Yes. Not your house, but Sam's house.
Oh yeah. If he actually has tried all the different things he asks about, he's got literally one of everything growing there. A lot of which I'm not familiar with. And I did an online class yesterday. I worked with a couple of other extension agents, Tia, who's in Hillsborough County now, and several people from Seminole County. And every summer we do a series of classes once a week for a month or so called Get Your Grove On. And we just little 15-minute presentations on all the different fruits that you can grow here in Florida. And I did cacao yesterday. which is difficult to grow in Central Florida because it gets unhappy when the temperature gets below 65. And if it gets anywhere near freezing, it's going to, kill it or definitely greatly damage it. But cacao is what you get chocolate from. And one of the people on the presentation, I was reading through the questions, they live in Dade City, and they have a cacao tree, and it grows in a greenhouse. And they said they get a great harvest off of it. They grow out the pods because it gets a big fruit the size of a coconut, and they process it up into chocolate nibs, and it's great. So, hey, you have a greenhouse, give cacao a try.
But it would definitely freeze outside in Dade City for sure.
You are correct. The garlic capital of the world is in California. There's a town in California that is the garlic capital, and they have a big garlic festival, I think, every year. And I believe they grow hardneck garlic out there.
No vampires there, huh? No vampires in that town.
I love garlic. And garlic's very good for you, too.
Well,
so let me look this up and see if I'm correct.
If you watch some, anything on the internet and believe everything, they always show like these people who just take anything at all that you bought from the grocery store and root it or put it in water or plant it, and you can grow it, and you can grow all your own groceries.
Not necessarily.
Yes. A lot of the things like potatoes and stuff, a lot of them have been hit with growth regulators. So you're not going, the eyes aren't going to sprout for you so that they will last longer in the store.
Okay. Yes, I looked up, University of Florida has a lot of information on garlic right there. And it is soft neck garlic that you want to grow here in Florida. That's going to do the best.
What time of year?
Winter. So put it in the fall. If it was me, I always aim for like October 1st. It doesn't even think about cooling off till October 1st here. But technically, you probably could put it in September. You're going to grow it out all winter long. Start checking it like late winter, early spring to see if it's at the size that you want to harvest it at. And the green part, the garlic scape, that's the vocabulary word for today, SCAPE, garlic scape. The green part is very tasty also, and you can freeze that, I believe.
I mean, that's not like a green garlic, like it's a green onion on the
onion. It is similar to a green onion, the green part.
Cool.
So it's going to taste like garlic, but not really strong.
Huh. So I have a Florida thing to bring up. I had been talking about it while I was working there, and then I see that, what is it now called? The Florida Exotic Species Council?
Yes.
Something like that. It used to be FLEPSI. Anyway,
I think it's FISC. It's Florida Invasive Species Council.
Right. I'm sorry. They don't use the word exotic anymore. You're right. That was the word to take out. Florida Invasive Species Council. It's a whole other discussion why they took exotic out. But believe me, since I've moved here and I've been fighting trumpet vine, I know native plants can become very invasive. Anyway, that is a council that is more or less a watchdog council. They don't have any kind of federal power except as, it's like the first step in getting a plant on a invasive species list where you're not allowed to sell them. So, and they have different categories, 1, 2, and basically this council is doing this. I'm looking at you, plant. I'm thinking you are going to cause a problem. And that doesn't mean they're not going to be in the store. That's the difficult part, because until a state or federal law tells a nursery you can't buy, sell, trade, transport this, they're going to. This watchdog group, the stores ignore. But we, as conscientious gardeners, need to know what they're looking at. And I'm building this up to tell you they're looking at Asclepias cursivaka, the tropical milkweed. Just about the only milkweed you can buy in any big box store that has the long stalks, the yellow and orange flowers. So this is going to make a lot of people angry. Like, what do you mean? This is how I take care of my monarchs. But the plant is troublesome in several ways. If you're going to insist on having it, just about all the universities in the South ask you to cut it down from November through April. Why? Because it's going to keep growing all winter, encouraging the butterflies to come and stay there. There's nothing else to eat, and they may freeze to death. In Florida, we know we have sudden freezes. Butterflies don't watch Paul Delgado or whomever to know when a freeze is coming. There's that. But it's proving to be invasive. It also, another interesting thing, is all of the milkweed, a lot of any kind of milky plants are poisonous. That is why they work so fabulous with the monarch. The monarch can handle the poison, and then nothing wants to eat the monarch. Well, this tropical milkweed actually has more of that toxin. So if the butterflies are around it a lot, they do eat too much of it and pass their threshold. So it becomes dangerous for them even. The other thing is, because it grows so hardily, it attracts so many butterflies that hang around there instead of moving on down to Miami or moving over to Mexico or wherever. And what did we learn during COVID about social distancing? These butterflies are not social distancing. And I know they don't in Mexico, but that's a different stage in their life. They all naturally carry this parasite, which has a name about this long, but what do we call it? OE?
Yeah.
And that's just going to be there. But when their patterns are disrupted, they're going to pass it around to each other. And who it affects are the caterpillars, who, if you're rearing them, you may notice some grow up deformed and never really make it. So there's all of these issues boiling down to this tropical milkweed, which it's sad because we all got it because we, with a good heart, we want to help the monarchs. So the answer is try and get the stores to provide more natives. There's 3 natives you can grow there, right? The swamp, 2 swamp ones, the pink and the white, right? And then your tuberosa, which is the orange kind. And what, perennis? And what's the name of the third one?
There's a number of different ones. There's 2 swamp milkweeds.
Right.
You have
a pink one and a white one.
They need wet soil.
Yes. So that's why you're best with the orange tuberosa, which we have up here too. We have that all over the place. So the thing is, it's harder to find the native milkweeds. And then I saw on some of the comments about this, well, I tried it and it died. So I just have to have my tropical milkweed in order to help the monarchs. But, now we know all these other issues. So I think
there's still a big debate over that because there's several different organizations that look at plants and either deem them as invasive or non-invasive. And I did see about the one group that I guess used to be Flepsy, but they've changed their name.
Yeah.
And they're saying that it's invasive now, although according to University of Florida assessment, it's caution in South Florida, Central and North Florida, not a problem species. As far as the plant being invasive, like escaping cultivation and taking over fields and forests and swamps.
I've seen it escaping cultivation in the Weeki Wachee Preserve with my eyes. I mean, it's not taking over everything, but I've seen it, and there were no houses anywhere around.
But
So
still, the other native milkweed species are definitely preferable
sure.
to be grown in your yard to help support monarchs. And our Master Gardener Nursery, they got a bunch. I think they still have some left, although they will be running out again very soon. Because when we get a lot of them, people buy them up, which is great.
Yeah, great.
They sell a lot. They sell out pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to carry as many of the different native ones as we can.
There are 21 native milkweed in Florida. Only 3 so far have been successfully able to make it, in the nursery trade. I know they're working on a couple others to make it, what you don't want to do is, go out in the wild and then try and take some and transplant it. First of all, it's not going to transplant well. If you go in the Chassahowitzka preserve, you'll find pine woods. Is that what it's called? Pinewood milkweed. Looks so totally
really, really deep tap root, and it's almost impossible to transplant.
It's almost like a runner, but it looks like purpley leaves that look like cabbage almost. That has not, never been able to figure out how to bring it into the landscape, but certainly don't take it to where nature has it, even the seeds. I mean, there are people who do it, but they have special training and permission, but you want the seeds to grow in that natural area where it's obviously growing well.
Yeah.
So yeah, here we can do the tuberosa, and they have a tall, weedy milkweed. It's just about everywhere, called common milkweed. And people look at it like a weed, and I'm like, no, it's a great plant. So that's the milkweed talk for the day on our talk.
We have a couple of questions here. So Valdon asks, do Venus flytrap plants grow in northern or central Florida? Anybody?
I think they grow in northern Florida in the swampy area.
I was going to say there are carnivorous plants
in the Big Bend area.
Those are pitcher plants, Bernie. Yeah, that grow in the swamps and stuff. There are several carnivorous plants that grow wild. The actual Venus flytrap, I don't know. We would have to research that.
So if you're asking about whether you can plant them outdoors and have them grow and survive, or a lot of people get them in a container and grow them inside. And Bernie, if we had a couple dozen of those Venus flytraps in our office this week, I think they'd be having a feast, because we have a summertime outbreak of flies.
I had a customer come in and want to know why his Venus flytrap died. And it turns out he was tripping it to show people that they would close up. And it can't take that. After about the third trip, it needs several days to recover and be able to feed. And because he had done this enough, the plant wasn't able to feed itself. It just withered up. So if you have a Venus flytrap, you do not want to trip it and show people this exciting thing of it clamping down, because the plant runs out of energy to do that quickly.
It runs out of energy. I guess it needs to have the protein to replace that energy.
And feel free to stop by our office and grab a couple flies if you have a Venus flytrap. we got plenty to spare today. And Cindy, good morning, Cindy. How are you? She says Joe Pye weed. I know, Lily, I'm sure you got a lot of it up there.
Yeah, I got to get some from my yard. I'm sorry, ironweed? Oh, yeah.
Ironweed,
beautiful. Side of the road.
Like horrible weeds, but they're covered with little flowers, and butterflies and insects just absolutely love them. So it goes back to, what is your goal? If you want to help support butterflies, you get things that might look like a weed to your neighbors or others, but you're planting them for a reason.
I get a hard time about the pokeweed that I allow to grow in my yard. My other family members
And it was given to me by the master gardeners in Lake County when I went over there to help with one of their plant sales. And I put it in the ground. Oh my gosh, it's like 6 feet tall. It's starting to flower again for the summer, yellow flowers.
You know,
Beautiful
sometimes
plant.
we have this, I have the same conversations here as there because I was trying to convince somebody yesterday that her Virginia creeper was not poisonous. Now, there are some that maybe if you're extra, you know, sensitive to it, but I was just telling her the problem with Virginia creeper is that it hangs out in a bad crowd. So you will often find poison ivy, poison oak, whatever kind of hiding in it, but it's not the Virginia creeper that's your problem.
Okay, cardamom plants. I'm kind of familiar with them. It's a wonderful spice for Middle Eastern foods. And I'm looking online. Yeah, you can find it online. I just Googled cardamom plants for sale, and there's people with Etsy stores, Amazon, eBay. You just want to make sure that you're getting a cardamom that is edible. And I'm not an expert on what the plants look like, but yeah, there's plenty here. The plants look a little bit different though. Some of them are gingers, others don't look like gingers. So, Bassem, you can buy plants online. Just double check and even email them if you have to about, is this a variety that I can grow and actually eat? Is it edible, safe to eat? Because, you know, ginger is very, very good for you, very healthy, very important spice for a lot of different recipes and dishes and everything. But there's got to be, I looked it up once before, there's like 1,000 different varieties of ginger. Really only one that you want to grow to eat. All the other ones are ornamental. They're very pretty. They grow tall. They grow short. They get beautiful flowers, but you're not really wanting to eat the roots off of them. So make sure you get the correct one if you're going to be eating it. And Buddy, I guess referring to cardamom, he adds it sprinkled on top of coffee. And Bassem says every time he's trying to buy one, it turns out to be false cardamom. Just double check with who you're buying it from. Be careful you're getting it from a reputable person.
There again, that's the case of you need the Latin name for the plant you want, because there's so many plants with the same common name, and it's in the trade. If you're buying from common name, you have no idea what you're getting. The only way you can buy specific is if you're using the Latin name for the plant.
And there are plenty of people who get aggravated at you for using the Latin name, but that's the reason why, because common names, you know, even around here, there's 15 different common names for the same thing. I'm pretty positive my oldest sister just makes them up. And so when I'm trying to learn things, she doesn't make them up. It's just the common name in that region, you know, or whatever. But if you really want to know what you're talking about, if it really becomes important, you've got to know those scientific names. But those change sometimes too. So.
Okay, here we have from Santa Rosa County Extension, cardamom, and there is the Latin name for the edible variety, and it's a tropical perennial spice in the ginger family. So it is. From the picture, it looks like any other ginger. Forms huge 12-foot clumps of bold texture foliage. The seeds are used to flavor and add aroma to coffee, candies, pastries, and other foods. Like all other gingers, prefers partial shade. So here's some very good information. It looks like it's pretty tropical. So hardy from 10B through 13A. Here, we're right on the edge of that. My guess is it would freeze and possibly die to the roots during the winter. If you grew it in a big container, you could probably keep it going and keep it alive. Hey, this is another one that I probably need to try. So yeah, Bassem, just be very, very careful. Look up University of Florida cardamom, and you'll find that fact sheet and other information with the scientific name, and make sure that what you're buying has the same scientific name, and their plant looks like the pictures of the plant, what the plant should look like online, and you should be good. Hopefully it'll do well for you. Like I said, it's a bit more tropical than what you are in Seminole County, but not by much. So if you keep it from freezing in the winter, I grow lemongrass. And when we had a winter like 2 years ago, it really didn't freeze. It didn't freeze back, and it just grew even taller the next year. When we get a freeze, it just dies back to the ground. I prune it back. Gingers, the edible gingers, do the same. So you should be able to grow it.
I was wondering if, Buddy, in North Florida, if it is legal to taint your coffee and make it any kind of frou-frou coffee other than, black coffee, maybe with some milk.
Foo-foo coffee. Well, cardamom is probably, or adding some, you notice that fact sheet even mentioned that it's added to coffee. That's probably a Middle Eastern way of drinking and flavoring your coffee.
I just know my husband, and he's from Central Florida, but he don't mess with his coffee. He just wants black coffee. I go to all these. I don't even drink coffee, but there's plenty of coffee shops around here, and I'll get like chai tea or something. But he'll just look at them like, "Just give me coffee."
Well, here we have all the creamers that you get at the grocery store.
Oh yeah, we have
mostly corn squeezings. There's not a whole lot that's really natural in it. You want to use that lightly.
Yes. I couldn't even. I'm glad I don't drink coffee, because I wouldn't even know how to order some of the mocha latte, on and on.
They're milkshakes.
Yes.
Slightly coffee flavored milkshakes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They're good. I like
sure
my coffee black. I noticed that one of the girls this morning put a spoonful of honey in her coffee. So everybody's a little different. Some want milk, some want cream, some want sugar.
And honey is very good for you.
Whatever happened to every house having sugar cubes? I haven't seen sugar cubes in a long time. Have you got any in your house?
You can buy them at the grocery store.
I've never purchased sugar cubes. They've
I was
never
going to
been
say,
in my
Colby
home
doesn't
ever.
even know what you're talking about. I think the last place I saw them maybe was at a wedding or something, fancy. Yeah. I don't think.
Is that showing my age? Is that one of those things that is time?
Yes, it was. Yes. They were nice though, but I don't think people just use teaspoons now.
Yeah, I remember when coffee was a nickel, and then it was a nickel but no refills, and then it went to a dime, and now it's like you have to take out a mortgage to get a cup of coffee. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going through showing a lot of our contact information and other important links. Feel free to, if you enjoy watching educational YouTube videos, if you go to YouTube and look up Hernando County Government, our county does have a YouTube channel. And if you go to that YouTube channel and look at the playlists, there's one for Florida Friendly Landscaping, one for Extension. Florida Friendly Landscaping has well over 100 recorded classes on there. So,
for our diehard gardeners, Phil, what would you recommend as they plant this week? You need to do that every week. You should have a Bill's pick and just give it off so that these people tune in and they want to do something. They're waiting for us to give them an inspiration. So, ta-da! Inspiration.
Too
Well,
hot.
right now,
Underage.
there are still summertime things that you can grow. A very, very easy one to grow and very reliable is sweet potatoes. And if you go to Hernando County Government's YouTube channel, we have a recorded class I did, I don't know, last summer or the summer before that on growing sweet potatoes because they are grown commercially here in Central Florida, mostly over on the East Coast, like kind of inland from St. Augustine area. And I had an expert who works over there in St. Johns County give the presentation. So you learn how to grow sweet potatoes. I need to get seeds planted for fall tomatoes, and I am going to grow gosh, what's the name of them? Little Mexican small
Tomatillas or
tomatillas. Yeah, I'm going to try to grow a big crop of tomatillas because if you grow a lot of tomatillas, you can roast them, add some other things, onion, hot pepper, other stuff, blend it up and make your own enchilada sauce and can it. I've done that before, and it's really good enchilada sauce.
I love
Stuff you buy at the grocery store's tomato sauce. It's no good.
Yeah.
So start seeds for both of those. They can't go in the garden yet. It's still way too hot. Sweet potatoes like it hot and steamy. So you can start them and put them in the ground right now if you have them. Other than that, keep the weeds under control in your garden. If you ignore your garden for too long, the weeds will get waist high, and you will be very, very angry at yourself in the fall when you're out there having to dig them up then. So keep on top of them now, and you should be happier with yourself in the fall.
Keep on top of them before 10 a.m. Don't be out there trying to kill yourself.
Yeah, don't go out there and start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
And if you have an area that you're not growing anything and you want to get it set for this fall, cover it in clear plastic, not dark plastic, and let it do a little nematode sapping. So just a thought.
Good idea. Yes.
And you see, buddy, I know that you can add
cinnamon, yes.
you can add cardamom, you could throw honey in your coffee. So
I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
That sounds
and they're all very healthy for you also.
Oh.
So
they say the local honey is supposed to help you build up a immunity to local allergens. We can't give any kind of medical advice, but that is just what, anecdotally people have said. So.
And it's always good to buy those things from local Florida growers and producers, whether it be a beekeeper, farmer's market, a local U-Pick farm. We have J&G Ranch here in Hernando County. My guess is they're shut down for the summer. Even blackberries are, I'm sure, are done by now.
The sweet corn place just a mile from here looks like it's about ready to start producing. The corn's up, been through the tassel stage, so it won't be long and we'll start having sweet corn. So
in the fall,
we've got
right.
a couple places that really do well on sweet corn here. In the eastern part of the state, there's some big sweet corn farms. So over north of Orlando.
Mm-hmm. And also down in South Florida, that's where you get the very, very first corn in the early spring. Now, most of what you see in the grocery store, probably Georgia-ish.
I'm going to say that the best sweet corn that you can find is grown in either of the two farms in Hernando County. Just frequent them. The best, is it Silver Queen corn? They have other varieties too.
Mhm.
You know, it's very fresh, and take it home and boil it, and you'll have it is just wonderful.
Well, I know the eastern coast of Maryland was famous for Silver Queen corn in the summer. So probably a lot of the corn that you see coming up soon, July, August-ish, is going to be from states
Sure.
that are north.
It's
I'm sure
coming
they
up.
grow it in Pennsylvania too.
Oh yeah, there's corn grown all over the place here, but I don't think they grow it to eat here. I think it's all feed corn or fuel corn or something
Yeah.
like that.
Corn's actually a difficult thing for gardeners to grow. You need a fairly decent stand in order to get good fertilization of the corn. So, that's one. Buy it from somebody and use the space to plant things that do well in your area.
Yeah, corn takes a lot of space, and it takes a lot of high nitrogen fertilizer.
I'm sure that the farmers that you have there they use cover crops when they're not planting their corn to try and some leguminous, nitrogen fixing alfalfa, whatever,
I haven't done that in years. Once a number of years ago, I planted black-eyed peas as a summertime cover crop, and I ended up with tons of black-eyed peas. And then I tilled it under, and I planted tomatoes in the fall after that, and they grew like crazy. They didn't even produce that well because the black-eyed peas had added so much nitrogen to the soil. So it works. It helps.
And that's something you can grow in the winter there. I mean, in the summer.
Yep.
Your sweet potatoes, your black-eyed peas, your okra.
Okra, yes.
And then Bill knows of all those other like South African or whatever things that are coming up now that you give classes on.
Yeah, there's a lot of different. It's going to be mostly Caribbean and South and Central American type crops.
Well, I think the sweet potato and the okra, probably the black-eyed peas too, were brought over from Africa, and people started planting them, and they're like, "Hey, this grows well in the South." Something we can grow.
From tropical parts of Africa,
and
that's why they do well here during the summer. All the traditional, more European vegetable crops, it's just too hot here for a couple months during the summer to grow. So, hey guys, if anybody has any last minute questions, go ahead and sneak them in.
I knew somebody was going to mention the Three Sisters about corn. So what does that mean?
You do up there in Pennsylvania more than you would here.
They do it a lot. What is it? Beans, corn, and what's the other one?
Corn, pole beans, because the pole beans grow up the corn, and winter squash or pumpkins, because pumpkins a winter squash.
Right. Okay.
You guys up in Pennsylvania grow a ton of pumpkins, though.
Oh yeah.
So you're going to have, most of our jack-o'-lantern pumpkins are just trucked down here from Pennsylvania in the fall.
Or Ohio, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we have our own. So my niece grows some pumpkins, like just enough for her grandkids to have fun playing and picking, in the fields and stuff. So.
So Cindy says, it's been good for me today because all we hear about down here now is hurricane preparation. If you're new to Florida, you may not know much about that. You need to look into it and gather some information and be prepared and knowledgeable. For those of us that have been here for a while, we hear it an awful lot. So this isn't the virtual hurricane preparation hour with Dr. Bill. But Cindy, gardening is what she loves most. So thank you, Cindy. You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much for being a longtime listener and joining us so often.
UF does have publications and things to tell you what to do before and after, as far as your yard. After.
Just follow our Facebook. It's all going to end up on our Facebook over the next, what do we have, 6 months left of
What you really want to do is get an arborist out there 3 months ago. But if you haven't done that, get them out there now. You don't want to call them when there's a storm brewing out in the Gulf or wherever, because they're going to be really busy.
Yep,
If there's a
they're right out
tree
the
you're
door.
worried about, have an arborist. You can go to treesaregood.org.
Yes.
Yes. Put in your zip code, find our local certified arborists, have one come out and, evaluate your tree. Much better safe than sorry. So,
And when you look, you're going to find my name on that list too.
but you're not going to go out there and trim anybody's tree, are you?
There it is. It's on the wall. My
Okay.
ISA certification. No, I quit climbing trees when I was 12 years old, and I learned how to tie knots when I was a Boy Scout, but I can't tie them very well now. But all the diseases, the pests, the biology of trees, I know a few things about.
And there's another one on there who is also one of your master gardeners. So, but and that's kind of like Bernie and I studied together. That master gardener of yours and I studied for his arborist test. So I feel like I should be an arborist, but I don't want to do the work. So
you could probably, honestly, you could probably take the test and pass it. You probably want to get the book, the review book. It's not huge, it's about that thick. Read through it.
Yes.
They don't make
you were
as part
talking about the pumpkins earlier. The record in Florida is over 1,000 pounds. So you can grow pumpkins here.
It's hard. It's hard.
What amazes me is how they move something that big.
Right.
The record's, I think, is over 2,000 pounds now. And that's a mammoth thing to take out of a garden. I don't know how you do it. I know I couldn't lift it.
And it can't be good, really. If it's that big, is it really all that good to eat?
Probably not.
It's just.
But it might be. Since I've never had one that big, I don't know.
For eating, you're normally going to grow pie pumpkins, which is, what would it be, smaller than a basketball?
Most of when you buy a can of pumpkin for pumpkin pie, that is usually not even pumpkin. It is some other kind of squash.
Usually, I have heard that they throw butternut squash in there. I have no idea if they do or not.
The Libby's pumpkin can has a recipe that on the can that produces the best pumpkin pies that I've ever had.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
I love that.
Right.
I don't know why more people don't make it. I don't know why my wife won't make it more often. I love pumpkin pie. It should not be just a in the fall thing. We should have one like, once a month for pumpkin pie. So
did you say the recipe was on the label?
And it's got to be good. The vet recommends pumpkin for the dog. So if it makes the dogs healthier, it should make us, I'm sure it makes us healthier, and I like it.
With all that sugar, I'm sure it does. Now, you said the recipe was on the can, right?
On the can.
Yes. Are you able to read? Are you able to read, Bernie?
I can read.
Okay, why are you putting that all on Sue? If you want more pumpkin pie, then make it.
Well, I don't know how to do the crust. I haven't found a can of crust yet.
Oh, you can too buy a ready-made crust. Yes.
Oh, really? In a can?
Not in a can, in a pie tin.
Oh.
Or one that you roll out.
Okay,
well,
you women know all that stuff.
Oh,
I have questions about the demise of Lou for you, Bernie. We can talk about it after we go off air. His Bernie's wife volunteers and works at Homosassa. So I know they just had a sad event with Lou the hippopotamus passing after, what was he, 64?
60 some odd years.
Yeah. The oldest known living hippo around. So. I love
And before we
butternut
wrap it
squash
up,
too. That's pretty good.
looks like Anne Marie's garden is doing really well. She lives up darn near Georgia, so right up.
Oh darn! I thought
Very,
maybe you could invite
very
me.
northern edge of Florida. It's just barely
I
Florida.
want to see a interstate sign that says darn near Georgia.
Darn near Georgia.
I have a niece who lives in Jasper, so she lives in darn near Georgia as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's a huge fan of Bernie. Who's not?
Well, my wife, of course, she's pretty smart. She knows me better than most.
Because you hassle her to make pies all the time.
Yeah, she don't make me a pie.
Okay, guys, looks like it's about that time. So thank you so much for joining us again this week. I will not be here next week. Maybe somebody else will be. To find out if we're going to be on any given Thursday, follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube. Make sure you sign up for those notifications, and it will let you know whether we're going to be here, whether we're not going to be here, whatever the case may be. Other than that, we'll see you again really soon on one of these Thursdays. Thank you for everybody who joined me today. I didn't feel quite as lonely. You know, we can get 10 people on here. There's 4 squares right now. We can get 10 technically. So, and thank you everybody for tuning in, especially to our longtime viewers who always ask the best questions. If you didn't keep joining us, we probably would have quit doing this a long time ago. So thank you very much. And we will see all of you again soon, the next time we're on here on a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. So until then, thanks again, guys. We'll see y'all soon. Bye.